Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Forbes staff writer Zach Everson. Zach, before news of former President Donald Trump's indictment broke last week, you published a different report about the former president, and that's his businesses charged the Department of Defense in the neighborhood of $1 million for the first 3 years of his presidency. So what do you know?
Well, this information keeps dripping out. This was in response to a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act request by the watchdog American Oversight, that the Department of Defense provided some information about spending at Trump properties. And you said it was about $1 million. It was $976,000. And that's just through the first 3 years of the Trump presidency.
So let's talk about why it's dripping, as you described. From the time the FOIA request was filed, that was November 2019. We're sitting now halfway through 2023. So why did it take 3.5 years for the Department of Defense to respond to this FOIA request?
I reached out to ask, and they didn't respond. I mean, by law, they're supposed to respond. I believe it's within about 30 days. That almost never happens. The crux of it is they're under-resourced. There's not a priority. If you're the Department of Defense, what do you want to be spending your resources doing? Fighting wars or fulfilling FOIA requests? And there's just a logjam. And I have some that I submitted 2017, 2018 that I still haven't received, and not just from DoD, but from all sorts of government agencies. So, at some point, hopefully, we'll get what the department spent in Trump's last year, but that could still be a few years down the road.
So let's talk about the number here. It's a pretty penny. It's almost $1 million, and this is sizably more than what was first reported. So can you walk us through the discrepancy here?
Sure. So the earlier report had been 300,000, and that was just, I think that came in either his first year or his second year, and that's it. I mean, it just took that long for this material to come out. I'm sure that American Oversight was not the only place to FOIA it. But they were the first to get a response to it, and that's what we're waiting on. So, for years we had that knowledge that it was 300,000. It was certainly more than that, but it just took the government several years to give us the actual answer.
So I'm curious, did this amount of money directly benefit the pockets of then President Donald Trump?
He owns most of the businesses that the Department of Defense frequented. Now, some of them are marketing deals, some of them are partnerships, but 760,000 of that 976,000 went to businesses that he entirely owns.
And 976,000, did the Department of Defense break it down? Did they itemize the list at all based on properties, based on how much, based on dates, anything like that?
Well, if I had gotten everything that I would have hoped for out of that, it would have included, dates, events, rationale for why they chose that property, price comparison to other places. Alas, it was just a spreadsheet that listed all of the different properties. And within a property, it was broken down. So it would say like how much was spent at the restaurant and how much was spent at lodging. So it was 15 different Trump properties that covered 8 states and 4 foreign countries, which seems like a really interesting way of just spreading it around. Like, I think it would have been less surprising if it had all been spent at, one property that was just convenient to a military base. But to go to 15 different properties, seems like you might be going out of your way to spend some money at a Trump business.
And where were these properties? Can you give us any more insights into that? You said they were in different countries too?
Yep, there were in Panama and Canada, both of which do not exist anymore, so they were able to squeeze those in. There were also in Ireland and England were the countries, and then most of the states were on the eastern coast. I mean, Mar-a-Lago was there, Doral was there. So it's a sizable chunk of Trump's properties.
Zach, does this mean that taxpayer money was spent on Trump properties while he was president?
Absolutely. And this is just the latest report of this. There's certainly plenty of other reports that have been out there from Forbes and from other outlets. And, the American public's probably never going to get a total on that. Never mind, like, before the next election.
Never a total. Got that. But is there a running tally? Is there a sense, like a general number of how much has been spent so far? Or during?
It's been reported to be, I think it's somewhere south of $10 million is what we know right now, if you were to add up everybody's reporting. But that's just a ballpark number. I can't say exactly. Because it's also tough to tell if figures we reported were included in other people's reports. So, if we reported that Trump spent some money at his Bedminster, or the Department of Defense spent money at his New Jersey golf course. It's possible that another outlet could have reported that as well, not broken it down, and then we would be double adding something like that if we were to just total all the amounts that have been reported so far.
Zach, I'm curious because this is something that we haven't really seen before. So is this illegal, or is it just a question of, is this ethical, is this unethical?
It's not illegal to the best of my knowledge. Not an attorney, but it was not something that I really saw being pushed too much in the courts. The Supreme Court never ruled on anything like this, whether it was okay for the president to get money from his government. So ethical, I mean, that's subjective. We'll leave it to the viewers to decide whether it's ethical or not.
You've reported another big number, $22 million, and that's the amount of money that Trump Properties took in from political committees between when his campaign kicked off back in 2015 to July of 2020. So are they still raking in this type of cash?
No, not at all. That was a figure the Washington Post reported. They went back and totaled that up. But just looking through FEC reports, and if anyone goes to the article on our website, you can click the link there and it will take you to the FEC site and all of the spending at Trump Properties. So you can see for yourself, but it has really dropped off in recent years.
Is that because he did not win re-election? Or is that because there's an increased polarization when you think about former President Donald Trump?
There could be several reasons. For starters, he no longer has that DC hotel, which was a magnet for campaign spending. It was very easy for politicians here in DC to just go hold an event there. And you're seeing that the Waldorf Astoria is still a somewhat popular event. It is showing up in filings. Waldorf Astoria, of course, is what took over the space that used to be the Trump Hotel. Although it doesn't look like it's even. It's certainly not pulling in as much as the Trump Hotel DC pulled in. But being out of power has got to play a part in his not drawing as much money.
Zach Everson, thanks for joining me.